Got a question about styles. It says, I was wondering if you believe certain styles are better for people with certain body types, and if people should seek out styles that best fit their body type. I wonder if in reading on the different styles they mention that type of thing. Okay, so certain styles I feel are designed for certain people with certain body types or even certain genders. Um, like the style of Wing Chun is designed for a woman, so a lot of women would benefit from studying that way. Um, Tai Chi is more for like the older people, so the older people could benefit from that way. Like the older people that are like non-aggressive, non-competitive, more about health. Say they're over 60 years old or 70 or 80, Tai Chi could be good for them. The woman, the Wing Chun system could be good for them. Um, People that are like super flexible in the legs, Taekwondo could work really well for them. People that are more heavy set, I say Judo could work really well for them. Even wrestling. People that are super athletic, like mesomorphs, that are like super athletic, that's more of like the Jeet Kune Do, like Bruce Lee's way. Um, so it depends on what type of body type you have. If you're a smaller person, like small, like 5'5", like me or under, then certain styles like the Wing Chun could really work well for you, or even boxing, because boxing is more taking advantage of you know, your natural given abilities. Like you could be really good pound for pound. Like Mayweather is a very small person, and he was being able to be proficient in what he did. And then there's large people that have the heavyweights, and then they have a certain way of boxing as well. Chole Foot, it's more for people that are more stocky, more like endomorphs. You know, people almost like power lifters. That's what Chole Foots are good for. You know, um, endomorph too, probably Thai boxing too. You notice that a lot of the styles that are very popular in America is a lot of endomorphic styles because America is a fact. Majority of Americans are overweight or obese, and that's a clear fact. You know, so they're gonna favor things like wrestling and things like judo, things with a lot of joint locking techniques, like maybe jujitsu, where it's that extra weight that they have, they use that towards their advantage. Um, so that's what I see. But if you're talking about styles, now that's generalizations of certain styles that I'm talking about. But really, it boils down to the individual teacher. Like, take a look at the individual teacher. Like, for me, I teach, but look at me. I'm like a smaller person. I'm only 5'5", only weigh like 145 pounds. And it's like I could teach people that are my size to be proficient. I'm more of a mesomorph, so people that are mesomorphs, I could teach them to be proficient. Now, people that are endomorphs, like say they're overweight or obese, and they don't want to lose weight, they just want to stay the way that they are, then I wouldn't really be a good teacher for them because, like, I'm not really. My specialty is not to teach people to just, you know, do throws all day or wrestling. That's not me. But if the overweight person wants to lose weight and then basically become a mesomorph, transform his body to be a mesomorph, then I could help in that area. People that are ectomorph, on the skinnier side, I can help them change their body type to become more mesomorph so then they could be more proficient in their combative abilities. So for me, I'm more for the ectomorph and the mesomorph. And also for people that are smaller, um, that's kind of how my teachings are focused around that. But if you have another teacher who's pretty much, say he's overweight himself, then his whole fighting method is probably going to be revolved around him using his weight towards his advantage. So say somebody's like 6'6", he's a large person, and say he weighs 240 pounds or whatnot, then if he's a teacher, typically he's probably going to be teaching according to his own way, like whatever style that he's promoting or whatever that he's become proficient in, he has revolved that way around his body type. So really, when you're shopping around for teachers, you could look at the body type of the teacher of whom you're trying to learn from. So if you got a teacher that's very egoistic, then he could easily teach you to be egoistic as well. You got a teacher that's humble, he's going to teach you to be humble. If you're learning from Albert Einstein, who is, very intelligent, then you're going to be learning to be intelligent too. You learn from a teacher who's, doesn't value books, doesn't read anything, then he's going to influence you not to read just like him. You learn from a teacher that's very competitive, he's going to teach you to be competitive. So a woman, ideally, if she could learn from another woman, that would be nice, But if there's not that many women teachers out there, then you gotta look for a man teacher that kind of has like feminine qualities, as far as like more gentle, more humble, more passive, like not so competitive. Somebody that might be smaller. Because like for me, I could teach women well because I'm always the one who's smaller than the guys out there. Like every single guy out there is bigger than me. Everybody they got to fight is always bigger than me, taller than me, larger than me, probably, sometimes stronger than me. And I have to use what I know towards my advantage in order to overcome that situation. And a woman is always in that situation. Usually the man will always be taller, will always weigh more, will always be stronger. So the woman has to still find a way to win that situation, even with those disadvantages. So the way that I train, it's very helpful for women. It's basically helpful for the underdog, the smaller person, the weaker person, the person that's not expected to win. Like that's kind of like my method, is like teaching basically the people that get bullied to become stronger so they can overcome, these challenges. But if you got somebody you're learning from, he's already a large person, already so tall, super strong and everything. I mean, like, it's gonna be harder for him to relate to the people that are smaller than him, weaker than him. It's like, is it really his skill and talent that gives him an advantage in the fighting situation, or is it just because of his natural born size? It's almost similar to like somebody who is born to be 6'6" and he could dunk a basketball. Well, that's great, you're born that way, but can you teach people how to dunk a basketball if they're like, 6 feet or under? Like not everybody's born to be that large. And then you got somebody who might be 6 foot, and then he worked to get his jumping ability. He put a lot of effort into working to get it to have like over a 40-inch vertical. Then he could teach people how to jump higher. That's something that could change. But you can't really teach people to be taller. So certain people will have certain natural advantages, and it's like, just because they got those natural advantages doesn't mean they can really teach you that, because they might just be born with that. Like a tall person can't teach you to be taller. And that's pretty much what it boils down to. And your height has a big indication of how much you're going to weigh as well, as far as efficiency is concerned. Because you could have a highly efficient person at the age of, at the height of 5'5", compared to like a highly efficient person at the height of 6 feet, they're gonna weigh different. Like the person that's 6 feet might weigh 185 pounds, 190 pounds. Person that's 5'5" will only weigh 145. And if you got a woman that's like 5'3" and she's highly efficient, she's probably only gonna weigh like 120 pounds, 130 pounds. So um, weight makes a difference, gender makes a difference, body type makes a difference. So, like as I stated, you should be seeking out individuals that are pretty much representing the body type of which you wish to have for yourself. So if you want to learn from a mesomorph that's a teacher in whatever style, then there's a good chance that that mesomorph will be able to help you achieve your potential according to that body type. If you learn it from an endomorph, somebody that's a little overweight, like some people might practice Aikido or Jiu-Jitsu or Judo and they're overweight. And then if you're overweight yourself and you don't want to lose weight, then you could kind of learn from them to see how they use their weight to their advantage in whatever style that they practice. The ectomorph and the mesomorphs can almost be combined because the ectomorph, all they got to really do is gain more muscle mass in order to become mesomorphs. But say you got the super skinny person that is not strong at all, he's like pretty weak, then you're going to have to kind of go for styles where it's really dependent a lot on speed and accuracy and precision. Because if they get a hold of you, you don't have strength, you don't have power, you're going to be in big trouble. So you don't really want to you don't want to be dealing with those wrestlers and those people that practice judo, people that are really hands-on with you. Those are more for people like powerlifters and football players and people that are overweight. Those are the type of styles for them. But for people that are lighter, smaller, faster, these individuals utilize speed towards their advantage. It's more like the boxer who's really good at, getting away from certain attacks and moving a lot. It could be more like Taekwondo and boxing, kickboxing, stuff like that. But then you got something like Thai boxing, which is more maybe for the endomorphs, the people that are just really large people and they just want to grab a hold of you and destroy you with the elbow, destroy you with the knee strike. They just want to pounce on you and destroy you really quickly. Just kind of like a Mike Tyson type of fighting. They just want to get in and destroy you really quickly. That's a different type of body type. Look at the different body type of Mike Tyson compared to Floyd Mayweather. Extremely different body types. I think Mike Tyson was 5'9". I think he weighed like 220 pounds during the time he was fighting. So 5'9", 220 compared to Mayweather, who's maybe like maybe 5'7", weighing at 145 pounds. That's a huge difference right there. Mayweather is almost like the woman. So women and the Mayweather is almost representing kind of like the Wing Chun, like the Jeet Kune Do. It's more of like explosive energy, very fast, very defensive. And you got the Mike Tyson type where it's just like a big semi-truck just coming in there to destroy you. So a lot of it is also dependent on whether or not you're willing to change your body type, because you could be an endomorph and you want to become a mesomorph, so you want to put in a lot of hard work to become a mesomorph, so you could kind of end up training in a style that's more suitable for a mesomorph. Or you could just be like, you know what, I don't want to change my body type, I just want to remain an endomorph, and then you just kind of stick to the styles that are more advantageous to the people that have an endomorph body. Okay. As stated, if you're a woman, maybe you want to seek out to learn from other women, because then they can relate. Because they're women themselves. If there's not that many women instructors, then maybe learn from a man who's smaller, not too large, because a larger man is just not going to really understand. He's going to really teach. He's going to teach you to basically take advantage of your size on the opponent, but you don't have size on your side. so they just don't understand. You know, it's just like somebody that is a smaller person is like they specialize in like clothing that's or shoes that are for smaller people, and you got people someone that's really large, then he's specializing in clothing that's for like the really large people. So that's why like a lot of the styles coming from the East, no matter from China or Korea or even Japan, a lot of times it's kind of designed for smaller people because the people over there are smaller. But then you come over here to America, got a really large people, like everybody's like over 6 feet tall and everybody's like weighing like over 200 pounds, then they got a different style here. You know, it's the same thing with the clothing too. You know, you got these really large clothing in America for the bigger people. Then you got the smaller clothing for the smaller people in the East. You know, um, so also if you're wondering if it's possible for the teacher to teach differently depending on the student's body type by emphasizing those advantages a student has and staying away from disadvantages. I guess in set styles they don't do that, but a school such as yours is probably more possible. I mean, it's clearly more possible in my school, but it has to still, even though my school is small, it still has to deal on a one-on-one level, and a lot of times people aren't willing to pay that extra money for a private lesson, so then they don't really get the customization that they may be looking for. They have to be willing to pay for it. So for example, like there's a lot that I have to teach in meditation that I'm capable of teaching, but not a lot of people come to me for that type of teaching that are willing to pay for it. So the people that say, hey, you know, I really want to learn this, they really have to pay for a private lesson, and then if they don't, then I just can't offer it. You know, um, most of my classes are revolved, if not all my classes are revolved around my own development. So if I don't need much cardio, which I don't, then I'm not going to do that much cardio in my class. And then the people that are overweight, they're not going to really lose too much weight in my class because we don't do that much cardio. They will have to hire me as a private teacher for that, a private lesson, so we could focus on exactly what they need to focus on. So if I got a group of 10 people and they're all in shape and none of them need to lose weight, that one person that comes in there that's overweight, they're not going to really, the class is not going to be formulated for them. The class is more formulated for people that already do not need to lose weight. You know, so the curriculum keeps moving forward. So the people that have shown longevity, we might work on firearms for like a whole month straight, for example. And then after that month, we don't need to go back to it because they already retained the information. But then the people that come in afterwards, they haven't got caught up. They're not going to be, they missed out on the valuable teaching, and then they have to kind of pay for private lessons to get caught up. Just like in school, you know, if you don't go to school, everybody's, you know, going ahead in the curriculum. So in my school, it's the same concept, is where we move forward. People are learning forms, certain techniques, and the other people that just don't they haven't received that training in the past, they're missing out. You know, so that's why it's very difficult for any style to satisfy people's expectations, is because it's not customized to you. The style has a certain curriculum, a certain format that has to be followed because it's a group instruction. Um, but if you ask for the teacher's individual time, one on one, then he could focus on exactly what you want to work on. Some people will be like, well, I just want to work on the wooden dummy. I want to work on kicking techniques. I want to work on punching techniques. I want to work on knee striking techniques. I want to work on some self-defense. I mean, I want to work on some firearms. I want to work on some nunchucks. I mean, a private lesson, the teacher could very much adapt to what the person is looking for as long as the teacher is capable in those areas. And I'm capable in many different areas, but it's not proper for the curriculum, you know, to teach everybody everything that I know, because it's just too much to teach. I mean, we're even getting into things like drumming and playing music with the gong and the cymbals. We got all sorts of weapons with the bow staff. We got guns. We got throwing knives and throwing stars. We got batons. We got, swords, firearms, and airsoft training. Going to the range with the firearms. We got kicking techniques. We got punching techniques. We got elbows and knee strikes. We got ground survival training. We got the wooden dummy. We got the punching bag. We got the sandbag and fist training. We got the iron body training. Like, pretty much, we we focus meditation as well. We train in everything almost, and because we train in everything, it's like the curriculum is always changing depending on who's there. So it's hard to make everybody happy, because if somebody's coming in there overweight and they really needed to lose weight in order to take themselves to the next level, we're not going to be focusing the entire class just on this one person. This one person is going to have to do a lot of self-training on their own in order to catch themselves up to the rest of the group, or they're going to have to pay for private lessons to help catch themselves up to the rest of the group in regards to losing that weight that's necessary in order to get themselves to the next level. And it's not just about weight, it's also about flexibility as well, because a lot of people come in there very inflexible, and then if you're very inflexible, a lot of the kicking techniques would just be irrelevant for you, because you don't have the flexibility in order to perform those kicks. So then they have to do a lot of homework on their own or pay for private lessons to develop themselves in those areas. Other people just pick up on things really quick. We could do firearms training, and then just in one day they already have it down. But other people, they take longer time to learn, and then it just takes, they either have to do more homework on their own, or they got to pay for private lessons to catch themselves up to the rest of their group. So it's just the teacher, like, what I do is I'll adapt to the people in the class. If the class is not that large, say it's on like 2 people, 3 people, then I could adapt to each individual. Like, say there's 3 people in the class, and then there's 3 days of teaching, then one day could be dedicated to one student, another day could be dedicated to the next, and the day after that could be dedicated to the next person. But if it's a really large class, like say 40 people, 50 people, you don't really have that flexibility and ability to do that. And I've heard other students complain about this as well, where it's like, they just keep going over the basics over and over again, because it's like new people coming in and they got to go over the same thing over and over again. And then the people that have been there for a while, they kind of get fed up with it, and they kind of feel like they're wasting their money, or they're just, that they're not progressing because they just keep going the same things over and over again. And they feel like they could fall into a rut. And that becomes one of the problems with a lot of these schools, is because it's just like very little consistency in the students, and then it forces the teacher to constantly go over beginning material over and over again. But when you do private lessons, you can focus on exactly what you need to work on as far as what the teacher has to teach you. But then the problem with that also is that you fail to retain the benefits of like training within a group setting and developing relations with other students, and just like being able to spar with other students and do drills with other students. There's a lot of energy that you draw from training in the group that you just don't get in a private lesson. And in addition, it's kind of harder for the teacher to be motivated to teach in a private level, because it seems like he would have to just go over the same material over and over again for each student, and it just takes so much time that it could get very demotivating. Because it's easier for a teacher to gather up 10 people and teach them for 1 hour, on a certain thing, like say it's firearms training, rather than splitting up for each 10 people, teaching the same thing over and over again 10 times. It's very draining, and it's hard to gather up the motivation, and energy to teach so many people on a private level. But if you're really paying the teacher a lot of money, say hypothetically you're paying him $500 an hour, then that could be his motivation to really put forth the effort to give you the best hour of instruction for the $500. But if it's just a little bit more money, then it's gonna be hard because say a teacher has 10 students and say in one class and they say they're paying $10 each for the hour, then that's $100 an hour. And then say the teacher charged you say like $30 an hour for a private lesson. $30 is still not comparable to that $100, and it's not just the money but also the energy level, because a teacher can't really put so much energy on a consistent basis for each individual every single day. It gets draining, it gets taxing on the mind and the body. So a lot of times, for me at least, I notice is I deliver my best teachings when there's a larger group of students that are ready to learn. Teaching students on a private level, it's difficult because the energy is not there for the teacher with the multiple students, and the energy is also not there for the students with the multiple classmates. There's clearly an energy shift between a group setting and a private setting. Um, so, like for example, I got a student, you know, he has a bad eye. He can't really see too well in one of his eyes. So what ends up happening is I could try to teach him to kind of fight in a way or defend himself in a way where that would not have to be a disadvantage to him. He might have to stand a certain way, block a certain way, stay away from certain techniques. Like everybody's just kind of a little bit different in their abilities. Some people, they just lack flexibility, or some people lack strength, and you gotta figure out a method, help them figure out a method to defend themselves proficiently with whatever disadvantages that they have. But for me, what I tend to do is I don't make them use the disadvantage that they have as an excuse. What I do is I make them realize that this is their weakness, and I help them towards developing that weakness into a strength, so then it's no longer a disadvantage. But certain things you just can't change. Like you can't just teach somebody to be taller. So if the person's short, then you got to really figure out a method to help, use that towards his advantage while being shorter. Some people are really tall and they cannot become short. So then you will use that as a way to give them an advantage when they're developing or practicing their way of self-defense. But certain things could be changed. People could lose weight. People can become stronger. People can become more capable. People can become more flexible. People can become faster. You know, um, and then you just kind of use that towards their advantage. But then there's other people where they have injuries that may never recover. Like somebody that has a torn ACL, like one of my students, he always has to be aware of that, and it's just like that could always be re-injured. So that's something in the back of the mind that could change the way that he would spar because of that injury. You know, somebody else, for example, also might have asthma, and then you got to use that, as an understanding that, hey, the way that this person fights or spars is gonna have to change accordingly based on that. Um, but I think that's the best that I could do as far as answering these questions are concerned. Um, it's more about getting to know each individual teacher, but if you're asking for private lessons, typically they might charge a lot of money and you just might not be able to afford it. So then people are stuck with these group lessons, and these group lessons just they can't be perfect. They just can't. There's always going to be something wrong because the group lesson is designed for a group of people. And especially if it's a large group of people, there's gonna be a lot of things that could be improved upon, you know. But that's just the nature of what it is. It's a group instruction, and you're paying for what you know. You're getting what you paid for. If it's a group lesson and it's $10 an hour, $20 an hour, whatnot, you know, that's what it is. But say he's charging $500 for 1 hour of private time, then you're paying for that expertise, you know. So I think there might be a lot of teachers out there that may be capable of really helping you develop to your full potential on an individual level, but because you're not paying for that extra service, you know, or that extra expertise, they're not going to really, you know, they're not going to really you know, just focus on you when there's just so many other people to that he has to teach. You know, if there's 30 people, or hypothetically if there's 60 people, then he only has 1 minute with each student for that hour, because there's only 60 minutes in an hour. So essentially, if there's 60 people, he can only give each student 1 minute of his time, because there's 60 people, you know. And then how much can you learn in 1 minute? You know, so when I think about it, I think that's kind of what it boils down to. And that's why there's a lot of people that have problems with styles, because the style is designed for like mass instruction, for like a mass group of people, just to kind of get people churning through, like, hey, you know, just have you learn this method as quick as you can so we can move on to the next, you know. That's why people are just jumping around to all these different schools, because you got taekwondo styles that are focusing on kicks, Thai boxing styles focusing on knee strikes and elbows, boxing styles focusing on punching, you know, jiu-jitsu style focusing on joint locks. And then people just jumping from all these different schools to schools because they just want to pay like the least amount of money as they can learn within a group, and then learn what they can from this school, jump to the next school, and then the next school after that. But essentially, there are teachers like me who could teach you everything, you know, because it all comes together as one anyway. But then people sometimes, they might not have the money for that, or they lack the patience. But essentially, like, all the schools could be contained in one teacher, because they're all the teachings are they go off of one another. They're all very similar. There's no need to go to one school, to the next school, to this school, to that school. It's unnecessary, because it's just, you know, punching and kicking, they're not too different. Punching and then elbow striking and knee striking is not too different than punching and kicking. Applying a few joint locks is not that hard. Learning a few throws is not that difficult. Learning how to ground fight is not that difficult. So essentially, like, paying for one private lesson could be equal to like hundreds of hours of group instruction, you know, where you're not really getting that much attention to begin with. But the business always has to have some type of focus, and that's why a lot of these businesses choose something. You know, they choose something to focus on. Filipino stick fighting, they focus on sticks. There's not really a style that focuses on nunchucks, but there could be a style that focuses on nunchucks. Another style that focuses on the swords, like the kendo, focuses on the swords. Fencing, focusing on the swords. Then there's like firearms tactic classes that focus on the firearms. Boxing, focusing on the punches. It's like everybody has some type of focus, but really, a real good martial artist knows it all. Like, he could do all of it. He could teach everything. But he can't advertise everything, because, like, he might have 10 people that want to learn, like, Jeet Kune Do type of methods, and then only one person wants to learn Tai Chi. And then another person, just one person wants to learn meditation. And then another person, just one person wants to learn just taekwondo kicking type things. But then the teacher has to choose like where the majority is, because that's where the money is, and then where everybody else wants to learn, they have to pay for private lessons. But then the people, they don't want to pay for private lessons because they can't afford it, or they don't, they don't value it enough. So then he ends up having to drop the other teachings and focusing on the main core. Just like for me, I got the martial arts, which is I teach everything, but in order to learn everything, you gotta be patient. And then I got the fitness people, where it's like, okay, you're paying me for fitness, and this is what we do. And then we got the martial arts group. So, but that's all I got to say about that. Hopefully this video helped out the person a little bit.